Ladies, gentlemen, start your engines. This is a big ass video today, man. I gotta talk about a lot of shit. Plus, I gotta like unload all this like video footage. I'm gonna keep you reusing my source of madness videos because I like the art style and shit like that. But on the real, so I got it wrong. Here at Azure News, we got it wrong. It wasn't from the Netherlands. It was apparently like a German video, which was like supporting this like threesome-esque sexual liaisons, if you will. So like to use a guy to get your woman pregnant because you're shooting blanks or you're gonna have like an inbred child, or like if it's just her preference, like she met this guy and like they grew up together, but then like she wants like a kid with dark features, or like what I mean. It's just so like dystopian. But I got it wrong. Like it wasn't like a Norwegian or Swedish like thing. It was actually German. Sorry about that. Wow. So like going back to like what I was saying, right? Like sometimes I even tell myself like trying to talk myself out of it, like it's not worth doing, and I shouldn't like think like this. I shouldn't treat women like this. And you see something like this, and then you see the inevitability of it, right? Let's just take out the whole social dynamic aspect of it, the differences between the genders, like the gender dynamics, and look at it from like a ecological, social standpoint. You have a kid who's raised in this environment. That kid isn't, gonna turn out good. It's just, there's no man in that relationship to put his foot down and to be apprehensive and to scold the kid, to give him the tough love that he needs, right? And I think like back to the times when I was younger and I would just like be crazy and stuff, and I'd have, my parents, specifically my dad, just like, constantly being stern with me and stuff. And like at the time, obviously, like, and I think like a lot of people feel this way, like they were right, their parents were wrong, they should have done whatever they wanted to do, blah blah blah, right? But then like you think about what happens when you have the absentee of that, and then you see all these kids with like poor impulse control, poor social skills, poor like reasoning and shit, hookup culture. Like that's one of the things that I feared the most about hookup culture. Wasn't so much that I was going to be part of it or outside of it. It was that it was going to be a beacon to attract like a lot of younger people, and they're just going to throw themselves into it and get abused at a very young age before they like you, going on dating websites when you hit puberty, or like you're in high school, rather than just like asking out girls like the old fashioned way and shit. So Asmon Gold. Oh, by the way, I gotta get into this. That's why I made this like 28-minute video. Thank you for all the coming down Friday nights and shit. Watching my video. I watched Rehab Room's video. I forgot what it was about. Something like IQ and shit. Fuck it. It's more important. Our shit's more important because it's like, they don't like the idea of being replaced and shit. Um, so I was walking around the mall and stuff, right? And I just noticed that like mans be having babies, but not every man, Like I'm not gonna lie and say that like there's no immigrants, there's no like brown people having kids and shit. Like I saw baby strollers, right? What I did see was those East Asians, man. Fucking pulling up, man. Like holy moly, man. Now the kids. Yo, you're the flaming horse, man. It's just prosperous. You know what I mean? But not everybody's feeling it, Like you have to be reasonable about this, and like when you say shit like that, and then like that there's people who are and this is happening to the Europeans, right? This is happening specifically like the case example, the Germans, right? Where you have like this idea anxiety of you have to have the kid, this is necessary, it's part of your culture, your future, whatever. but then you don't have the kid, and it, like it makes you feel like absolute garbage and stuff. But you gotta understand that like women chose, they chose, man. So Asmongold was making like I'm gonna do a reference like Asmongold a bunch of times just to piss off this Canadian streamer. Oh, I'll get into that for in a second. Well, basically, he's just jealous and angry at Asmongold, but like that's a whole other segment in this video. But like in this video that Asmongold was talking about, this is his most recent one, right? He's talking about how girl streamers are basically at danger and shit. And like, yeah, everybody could have predicted this. So basically, what pimps were like kind of like not only middlemen, but like de facto protection and enforcement and shit, right? So the reason why they would take a cut is because they need to protect their peoples, whatever, right? Fast forward to today, you have digital pimps like Twitch, Dan Clancy, you know, Kick. You got Jack Doherty. You got Clavicular. You got who else? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. All those fucking idiots. And like they like for all the faults that people have with them, at least they're doing their job of like protecting their women and shit. But like when you have OnlyFans models, right? Where OnlyFans and like streaming in general, so like I think there's streaming platforms outside of Twitch where you can make more money, or like maybe like it's like you're streaming on like a website that like you own specifically or something like that. So like you're cutting out the pimps. You got no protection, right? It's a man's world. You gotta like not only cater to a man, you got to be protected by a man. You got to pay that man who protects you. You also got to pay him with sexual favors. Like that's the way it is. It's rough being a girl, and like Asmongold pointed it out perfectly. I mean, just if I say Asmongold enough times, I guarantee you, this Canadian streamer, I'm not even gonna bring up his name because like that's how irrelevant this guy is. You're gonna be like, yo, oh my. Well, like yeah, back to this topic, right? Like, girls have like stalkers who, and he pointed this shit out, and I pointed this shit out. So like, remember that video I made? I think like a couple weeks ago or like 2 weeks ago. Thing like the Toronto police are like PDF files and shit, and it's just like yeah, people are like, "What? You don't have any evidence to back it up, or you don't know anything about it?" Or it's like, dude, what are you dealing with? It's the people who are supposed to collect evidence. Why would they collect evidence against themselves? It's like, where's the evidence against the people who collect evidence and categorize evidence and show it to the courts to charge people with? Like, what do you think it is? It's up your fucking ass, you idiot. You fucking stuff. So, like, beyond the fact that, like, we got people's operating with impunity and shit, right? Good old ass Friday. Operating with impunity and stuff, right? You also got like the jealousy against women as a whole. Like this is why this happens. So women doesn't want to give it up. She doesn't want to like whatever. Maybe in like high school and college, she was just like completely like into her books, into her shit, right? And maybe she knew she had like a good looking body and stuff, but like she just kept that stupid level modest and stuff. Right? The worst like, anxieties and fears she'd ever had was like going to like gym class or the gym in specificity, blah, 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 blah. And then like, having to wear form fitting clothes and, having guys, look at her, filming her, she's on camera, on video and stuff, so security sees her. Like you don't really think about just how fucked up it is to be a woman when you realize that like there's pretty much guys, potential people who can like hurt you and harm you pretty much everywhere, And even though like a lot of guys are neutral or even like, helpful and like if anything, they'll sacrifice themselves for you for absolutely no reason because the nature of guys, right? But that's more and more rare nowadays. Especially like I think that's like a quality that is kind of brainwashed on you when you're like younger and shit. And I say the word brainwash because you kind of get the idea that like around the world when you don't have like, movies, TV, comic books, like, superheroes, anything like that. You don't have that chivalry at all. Like you just see guys just like shoving women down. They're like, yo, me first, man. You know what I mean? The complete opposite of like you guys getting married, you guys like sign a contract rather than like man gets down on his knee and like proposes and shit. Like I actually wonder if like people around the world actually do what we do here, or they just say that and then like something else happens and we're meant like led to believe that like the same as all of us, but now we're all finding out like that's not the case then. So as an aside, um I was watching this guy talk about like how the Jews were like going up all these countries and shit and like doing child sacrifices and like something with the interest rates that piss people off and like money borrowing and lending and all that shit, right? And then like they would have like their own inner circle and then like call everybody else the goyim and all that shit. And then it like made me realize something. A lot of the problems that we have in our like lifetime in our world are guys carrying on the legacy of other guys and then like forcing women to be subservient to that. So like if you were to really sit down and like have a talk with every single woman in the world, and it's probably gonna like fucking drive any person insane, right? Because you're just basically talking to like if you're gonna be honest, maybe a little bit less than half of the world's population. Just because of the harsh conditions around the world where it suits you better to be a guy than a girl is what I'm saying, right? And plus also femicides and all that shit, right? So like let's say 3.5 billion people and you ask them like do you want to circumcise your child, right? Now, of course, a lot of these women that you're going to be asking, they're going to be Muslims, they're going to be Jews. They're going to, say maybe, sure, but most of them, fuck no. Like what the fuck's wrong with you? Right? But like, what is that legacy? It's the control that like these guys have over the girls, and like why I say that like when I'm raising kids and shit, I'm not gonna be doing that. It's just not for my kids and shit. Like if you're a human being, you love your children. The best thing for you to do is to not put hands to harm a child of your wife, your woman and shit. But why I say we go out and we replace them and stuff because when it comes to this like level of danger, right? That women face is due to the fact that there's a perceived notion of subservience, right? Like when you think about like these girl streamers, like and like oftentimes they put themselves in this like uncomfortable scenario and situation where they perceive themselves to be this figure of attraction, which let's be honest, is just there to fantasize people and to make people lend them money and stuff. So, as honest or dishonest as that practice is, like, there's also the idea that, like, oh, she could make a good housewife. I could provide for her. She doesn't need to, like, ask these guys, these random people online. She's just poor and misguided, and all these girls are but, like, how are, like, millions upon millions at this point, girl streamers? Like, how are they all falling into that category situation? Nobody's like ever thinking about the whole economic like value of it. More money that you could make doing that than doing anything else. Like there's this old one by yet again Asmongold, and it was like apparently this doctor lady, and she had like really big eyes. She looked like a fucking animatronic kid. Like what I mean? Like those like kids that are actually like robots. And you talking about like, yo, I'm a med student, but I make more money with OnlyFans. I'm like, holy shit. This is why, like, you have to think about not just like the replacement, but also the necessity to prevent it, like a preventative measure. Because it's like when you like see incompetence at this scale and you can't like look away from it, you're just like, but you're all here, like one or at least somebody could have done something, you know, just like this weird anxiety that we all have, you know. Oh, but now they're having it, you know, because it's like we have to step up to the plate and replace, you know, substitute them. Or not just them, it's like the idea that like there's gonna be girls, right, that are, you know, pregnant or you're with you and shit, and that prevents them from being with another guy and having their kid. It's not only like a necessary bonus, but like when you see like the complete lack of accountability, both adult and child, right? So on the adult side, like I can talk about this Jaskarat Sidhu guy, right? Everybody knows the Humboldt, you know, crash killed all those kids and all that. But apparently there was this other one, and this guy killed like see guy as well, killed an Olympic skater apparently, and he got off with like 2.5 years. And it's like in that case, you would argue that it was accidental, like 100%. But like, you gotta ask yourself this. Really, really ask yourself this. If he stays in the country and he has kids, right? Like, what is the fucking point of that? Like, why does he need to reproduce? Why do any of these people need to reproduce? Like when you see him pulling up in Portugal and shit, and you see the cops attacking Tyler over this, it's like, yo, Tyler's trying to like get some journalism. The cops are like, no, we need to pay for these retirements. We need to pay for our fucking taxes so we can get paid as police officers. I hit you with my stick, yo, fuck out of here. This is one of those things where that bitch ass cop, right, who fucking hit Tyler, yo, fuck you, fuck your kids, fuck your whole fucking family, man. No, of course I don't speak for Tyler, right? But this is why I'm saying it because, yo, Tyler should, white should, knock up your woman, man. You got fucked up retard ass genes, you know. You don't need to be having kids. But you see, you can't play God like this. You can't be like, oh no, I enact my ethnic cleansing or whatever the fuck because it's always up to the women. It's always their choice, and that's like the huge difference in distinction between the both of us. And like I bathe in it because I'm so flamboyant and shit. And I think like most guys are just like, it's like psychotic. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, what are you doing, man? This is the way you go about this. You gotta be more seclusive. You gotta be more evasive. You can't be like loud, huh, man? That's how I am. I am loud because gotta talk about even more Asmongold videos. Asmongold. Zachary. Okay, so this. Ah, man, I got to it finally. So this Canadian streamer, oh man, he's upset. He's upset, man. He's upset. I'm actually like kind of confused. Like I thought that like there's a huge distinction between clavicular and Asmongold. Like physically speaking, and then like the rhetoric and like the whole like background of their success, right? Because like think about it, Asmongold, he looks young, but he's actually kind of old. Like obviously I'm older than him. I actually don't have a beard. I don't have a full beard. He's like a full beard. It makes him look older. It looks like a mighty warrior, right? Warrior class in like a video game. Anyways, fuck. Clavicular is like a much younger guy, and on top of that, he uses all this like artificial means to whatever exist. And this like Canadian streamer, whatever, I don't even know what the fuck he is. Like, to be honest, I only have heard about him through this video. And I know that like this probably hurts him more than it hurts anybody else. It's like, okay, so this guy is most likely having a midlife crisis. He's talking about how he got his woman knocked up at like 17. Okay, whatever, and he had to raise his kid. I'm like, as tragic as the situation as that is, it's like, why are you having sex, man? The fuck? Aren't you living with your parents? So where are you having sex? Like this is a question I get to ask you because I grew up in a house where I could not have sex. Like it was physically impossible. Like the room was like literally so small. If I brought two people into my room for long enough, they would suffocate. Like most people who get like go into my room, they say pop a fucking window, dude. It's fucking it's a fucking hot box and shit. We're just like inhaling each other's fucking breaths and shit. It's just it's too small. That's why my parents didn't like me like bringing friends to my house and shit, basically. But besides the point, you did that, okay, and that's on you. And as bad as that is, you're blaming Asmongold for what exactly? Like his rhetoric or like his liking of Trump or like whatever. And it's this weird realization that as a man, like this is how it's gonna play out, right? You have guys out there who understand that, like, and I know people are gonna hate me for saying this, but life isn't permanent. It's not for you forever, and there's gonna be a day when everything that you thought that was yours, your identity, your voice, your face, your dreams, your hopes, all that shit, you thought it was yours, right? All yours, right? It will become your kids, your sons, your daughters. And you'll just like look at someone who looks kind of like you and, matters more than you do. And that's just the way it is. I think that people will have to come to terms with it eventually. Like, my whole flamboyancy is all about advertising. And I think I get that point across, even though, like, most people, it goes over their head. But in the case of this guy, he didn't just like go in on Asmongold. He went after Clavicular, as like aforementioned, which is kind of weird because, like, again, lumping them together is just contradictory, if anything. But like, I think it was just to be inflammatory to say that, like, okay, these guys offer no substance. Like, you could say that about Clavicular easily, right? But like, these guys offer no substance and they're so popular. Why are they popular and I'm not popular and I got been, it's midlife fucking crisis, dude. And as I brought up before, like, he's gonna have kids, and those kids are fucked because this is the man who's raising them. This he has no fucking control of himself. Like, it's okay to feel like this. It really is. You can even talk to your wife or like I would suggest a counselor because you're just gonna fucking talk to your wife or your significant other, and they're gonna look at you and they're gonna be like, fuck. I can't deal with this all the time. Like you gotta talk to a therapist or some shit like that, right? If it's really bothering you like that, right? But then like they go out and they go out and they raise kids, right? And then we're like, why these kids like they robbing in places? Why are they like doing all these like fucked up shits? Like why they can't control themselves? Why they don't respect authority or this or that, right? And the answer's simple: parents. And the shoe that fits on like every foot and stuff, and they're supposed to like feel special about having their own, raising their own. They're getting replaced. This video that Asmongold watched. Yeah, Asmongold. It's all fucking video, man. Zachary. I'm telling you, man. This video that like he posted was just so scathing, man. It's funny how like within like I think the first 2 minutes he brings up that he's Canadian. I love my country, but the people inside of it are not part of the country. That's how I feel. Is that complete dismissive of my fellow Canadians and their struggles and their perceptions of me as a Canadian as well? Yes, absolutely. But that's how I feel. Like, I like the nature. I like the outdoor aspects of Canada, like the quiet of it. Um, Not much else. Sorry. And this idea, right? That I had to fit into this, like, bold of humanity that someone would infringe upon me, saying that, like, okay, if I smoke too much, right, if I cough too much, like, that makes my judgment dismissive or, inconsequential, which it does. But, like, to use that as a weapon to, like, automatically vilify me and then like to have a populace of the people. And to be fair, like a lot of Canadians are actually really, down to earth, cool people, honest to God. But like, I gotta be honest about the other aspect about it. Like this guy that Asma was streaming about, or like made a video topic about. Sorry, was just like a very common thing about this movement, this elbows up movement of these guys who are like just like fucking snooty, fucking retard ass people who like think that you paying more money for your house or paying a carbon tax or whatever is like that idea. And now here we're at, like, grocery prices, guys trying to like stalk women and hurt them and stuff. Police don't do nothing about it. Worldwide too, eh? I thought it was just, here in Canada, Toronto police. No, apparently it's worldwide, man. That's why you gotta be a man, step up. Of course, let women decide for you, though. Don't like take the autonomy away from them. Don't be like the predecessors that failed in the past. You can succeed.